to Strictly Baseball. I am Jacob Brown, joined here with Steve Cashin. We're going to go over all the moves that we haven't gone over since the last time we did this. There's a ton of news going on. Spring training is here. Yesterday, we're hearing the sound of the bat, the sound of the glove on the field. It's always the best day of the year for me, even though it's not very eventful. You hear the sounds again. You get in that mood. You get the baseball feels, and it's all here. So I'm really excited that the season is back. And we got a lot to talk about today. So, Steve, how you doing? Rays coming off an American League championship title. Season starts today.
Yeah, it's been exciting. It's been probably one of the shortest off seasons ever for me, considering the Lightning and the Bucks being in contention. I've had something to watch for a couple of months, and now it's people aren't projecting the Rays to be as hot as they were last year. Noticeably so because they've lost Snell, Morton's gone, so a few key pieces out of the lineup. But I'm excited to see where the projections are going to be and how this team looks coming into spring training. It's part of the year where every team's in contention. Everyone has the excitement, the hope. After 1 month of the season, then you can kind of tell where your ball club's going to end up. But I'm glad that baseball is back, and we're going to be getting in the groove here shortly. Games are starting the 28th, I believe. So I'll be excited to see live action again.
No, absolutely. I can't wait for it. It's going to be fun. We're going to get to the Rays during this pod for sure. But first, I wanted to mention the passing of Pedro Gomez. He was an ESPN field reporter, sideline reporter. He was an author for ESPN, did so much work for them over the years, working for Major League Baseball and ESPN. Just a sad loss. It happened on the night of the Super Bowl. Unexpected. He has a son in the Red Sox minor league system, and just a tragic loss.
Yeah, that was incredibly sad. Like you mentioned, the night of the Super Bowl, I was celebrating. All of a sudden, I see, Pedro Gomez passes away, and I literally looked up. And I was reading about him, like, this can't be real, right? Because he's one of the main guys on ESPN. Always on the inside scoop about every story. He was part of the Barry Bonds home run chase. He was one of the main guys that followed that for ESPN. So he did some great content pieces with ESPN, great stories, just things that you wouldn't ever expect and that you hear in baseball. And he covered it and had a great passion for the game. And it's incredibly sad to see him go, but his legacy will live on, and we'll always have those memories of him with his stories and everything on ESPN. So tragic loss.
Yes. And our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and to everyone that he knew. Just a horrible, horrible thing. So let's move on and go into the San Diego Padres. Last night, they made some noise. 14-year, $340 million contract extension for the 22 turning 23-year-old shortstop Fernando Tatis Jr. I think it might be a bargain, and I get it. Big deals. A lot of people criticize them. They never work out, blah, blah, blah. This dude's 22. It's not like you're signing him at 28 for 14 years when most guys get their big deals. They get them 27, 28, 29 years old. He's 22, turning 23. He's still going to be a pretty productive player, you would assume, by the end of that deal. I mean, with the way he's been playing, personally, I think he's already the best shortstop in baseball. Just the energy that he brings, the sound off his bat, the speed off his bat, how fast the ball comes off his bat is insane. His glove is well above average. He's a team leader. He's what you want in your organization. It's like you get prospects and you pay for these international top signing monies for the big prospects so that they can turn into guys like this. You don't just wait for them to use up their 6 years of controllable contract and then say, okay, see ya, we got your cheap years, goodbye. No, you get those players to sign them at the end of the day. And I think if they had waited till he was 25, 26, he might be a $500 million player. So this is a bargain as far as I'm concerned for Tatis. And the weird thing thinking about it is this is a 14-year deal. Machado's only got 8 years left. So these are Tatis's Padres.
Yeah, this is a deal that I didn't really see coming. I mean, we were hearing rumblings about them maybe signing him to a long-term deal. I was thinking more around the 8-year range to see, because like you made a great point last night. You sent me a text like these deals don't really work out, it seems like, in the long run. In certain cases, He's young. He's only had 558 at bats in his career. He's batting 301, 39 homers, 98 RBIs, 27 stolen bags. So the ceiling for Tatis is we've all seen it. It could be through the roof. We don't know what he's capable of doing. He could be like a Mike Trout caliber type player where he's worth $400 million down the road. So I think the Padres are smart in locking him down early because we know how free agency works. Someone throws you a bigger number, hey, I'm going to go take that, and I'm going to finish my career with that team. So I think the Padres saw, hey, we have a great young talent. We can lock him down for 15 years and let's just ride it out and see what happens. And if he declines middle of that deal, you could trade him for something. So a lot of wiggle room for the Padres here, but I don't see this kid slowing down at all. He's only 22 years old. Not many of these guys roll around the league like this. So to lock down a generational type player this early, it's huge. And the next big name we've been hearing in baseball for 3-4 years now is Wander Franco, but he hasn't had a professional at bat at the big league level yet. So all the talk with these guys you can say what you want, but he's proven he can do it at the big league level. And last postseason, he batted 318, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs in a small sample size, but he's shown he can step up in the big moments. So that's a great signing for him.
Yeah, and I think he's a guy too. It's just the eye test. You like if you didn't look at any numbers and you didn't know who he was, and you saw highlights, you're like, oh, he's good. He's just one of those guys. He's like I really do think he could end up being an Alex Rodriguez type guy at shortstop, where he's 30 home runs, 100 RBIs a year at least, with the high average, with the stolen bases, like you mentioned. But the thing to me now is you sign a guy like this to a contract like this, you got to win a World Series. And this is, the Padres have never been under pressure to win a championship before. I think you have to now, at least within the Machado years, within the next 8 years.
Yeah, you've put yourself in a spotlight here. One quick thing too with Tatis is he's the composure on the kid.
Yeah,
it looks like he's been playing for 10 years in the league. He's 22, like we said, and the way he takes ground balls in pregame and he's just the way he walks up to play, the swagger he has. It's not an arrogance. It's more of a, I know I can do this at the biggest level and no one's going to beat me. And that's what you don't want to see from a young kid. And he's proving he can do it and the results are there. But yeah, going back to now, there's a target on their back. The Dodgers responded. They were laying low in the weeds all, off season. They land Bauer. After everything the Padres did, it seems like, oh, they're going to be the team to beat. How are you going to get by them? And the Dodgers make the move. So now the target's on the Padres' back. It's like, all right, you made these moves. Now you got to win on the field. 162 game season this year. How is this team going to last throughout the grind of that season? You went and got Blake Snell. You have guys like Tommy Pham. You went and got Yu Darvish. You have Tatis now to a long-term extension. There's a lot of Hosmer as well. So Trent Grissom. There's a ton of guys and pieces on this team that they can very well get the job done, but now it's like, all right, go and win it, like you just said. So a lot of pressure on them for a young team. Could that be a good thing, a bad thing? We don't know until they step on the field. So it'll be definitely a storyline to watch all year.
And they're closer to the Dodgers than people think. It's not like there's this huge divide just because the Dodgers got Bauer. Like, does that make the Dodgers better than they were last year? Yeah, it does. But at the same time, the Padres got a lot better too. Adding Darvish, adding Snell. They added Mark Melancon last night to a 1-year contract. So they lose Trevor Rosenthal. They lose Kirby Yates. In comes Mark Melancon now, who's been a closer in the league for a long time. So I love that deal. They have Drew Pomeranz in there as a top 10 reliever. The Dodgers bullpen, it's fantastic. I mean, I was looking at it the other day, and because they signed Bauer, it puts Dustin May kind of as a bullpen candidate. I don't even know if they can fit May in the bullpen because they have 8 or 9 other relievers. So the Dodgers are deep. Don't get me wrong, but the Padres are too. They've got a bullpen. They've got stars. They've got a pitching staff. It's pretty close. But let's get to that Bauer thing now. I think it was 3 years, $103 million. And then they also re-signed Justin Turner, 2 years, $34 million. So they're maintaining that guy at third base. You get Bauer in there. Now you have Kershaw, Bauer, Buehler, David Price coming back, and Julio Urias, probably the best rotation in baseball. Actually, not probably. It's the best rotation in baseball. Their bullpen might be the best in baseball or top three. Their lineup is still the same, just minus Jock, and who really cares because Jock didn't have a good year last year. This Dodger team is stacked. No two ways about it.
Yeah, it's scary. When I got the update that it was between the Mets and the Dodgers, I'm like, oh boy, please go to New York, just because I don't want the rich to keep getting on richer. But he took the deal, and it's $102 million. He has an opt out in every single year. So
which makes sense from what we were talking about when he wanted 1-year deals a few months ago, that rumor.
Yeah, and he holds the leverage. He holds all the power. And I think that's what he wants going forward in his career. He wants to be able to be moved and the ability to move himself when warranted. So $28 million in 2021, $32 million if he stays in 22, and $32 million as well in 23. So he could very well go and win a World Series, and Dodgers can go back to back here. And then he goes, hey, thanks for having me. I won my ring. I'm going to go somewhere else and try to help someone else win. So the guy's crazy. He's funny as shit. When you listen to the guy talk, he goes, you know what? I don't know where I'm going to go. He's a troll, but hey, the Dodgers did what they wanted to. They had their eyes on him all offseason. No one knew what they were going to do. And, they just keep getting, more loaded. And then you get Turner back. So the Dodgers have the exact same roster coming back in the season. Now it's just a longer season. And the health is going to be the thing for the Dodgers. If they stay healthy all year, they're my World Series pick going into the season. But it's a longer season. I think everyone got spoiled with it being only 82 games last year. So now you have to make the adjustment of, all right, switch our mindset back to 2 years ago when we still played 100-something games. So that's the only issue that this team will face. But I don't see how anyone's going to slow this team down. It's going to be between them and the Padres. It's going to be a battle. But I love what the Dodgers did in going to get Bauer.
Yeah, and I think ultimately we kind of know what the NLDS is already. Now, maybe it's Mets Padres. That's what I'm kind of thinking right now. It might be Mets Padres in that NL wildcard game, and it could be DeGrom versus Darvish. That's a really good game, but I think that's where we're headed right now. And then the Dodgers are going to face one of those two teams. And honestly, the NL Central really benefits because they're going to get to play someone else that's not as good. But anyway, yeah, no, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But the main thing, I tweeted this out, and I was really intrigued by this. The Dodgers have 2 young players that are roadblocked right now. I thought if there was any time to get rid of Turner, it's after you won a ring, before you have to pay him more money. And while you have a guy, they have this guy, Edwin Rios, third base prospect, 26 years old, left-handed bat. He hits home runs in the minor leagues. He's just going to be sitting on the bench. They have Gavin Lux, second baseman. He's sitting on the bench. He's a top 5 big league prospect. I'm thinking, don't you want to get those guys in the lineup at some point? You don't have to pay Turner $34 million, but it's the Dodgers. Of course, they still are, because right now it looks like left field, it's going to be who's it going to be? Probably AJ Pollock, and then second base Chris Taylor, with Rios and Lux just sitting because Kike Hernandez is gone, Jock's gone. But I don't know. Wouldn't you want to play a guy, Edwin Rios, who hits bombs in the minor leagues?
Yeah, it's one of those things, though. I was talking about this the other night. I was really thinking about, what do you do when you're a team that's in contention, has young talent, young prospects coming up, but you got to be in win now mode. And baseball is becoming more that trend where, if you have the talent to go win another ring, you got to keep as much talent on your roster as you can. You lost Kike Hernandez, you lost Peterson. If you had the ability to get Turner back, who's been a really, solid bat for you in your lineup.
Yeah, he's still a top 10 third baseman.
Yeah, a lot of run production there. So you really got to keep your core guys as long as you can until they want to move, or until you see the window for you to trade them and get enough in return. Now the Dodgers are in a great, position, having Lux and what's the other guy, Rios?
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah. Having them on your bench, it's a great luxury to have. So I think their mindset is, hey, let's go win back-to-back rings. And because how many times do you get the opportunity to go to a World Series and win it and have this window of winning? The Yankees are in that mode right now too, of where it's win now, because these young guys are getting older and they're going to move on eventually. So we have to win while we have the chance. So I don't see a problem with them bringing Turner back and keeping these guys down. Sit behind a few of these veterans while they get more mature in the game, and they'll have their moments in a long season. They'll play double headers, and they'll get their every fourth, fifth day opportunity. So they still have a long way to go in terms of their careers. So it's just win now mode, and baseball is just such a hard title to win, and you just gotta keep what you have as long as you can.
You bring up a point too about the win now mentality. It's also they're over the luxury tax already. They don't even have to pay Bellinger and Muncy yet, and they both had down years, by the way, which Turner provides a security blanket because he had a great year the whole time. And I don't think Cody Bellinger is going to do what he did last year, but he still had a down year. So did Muncy. They both hit under 200, if I'm not mistaken. So, you get Turner in there hitting in the middle of the order before you have to pay more of your stars. And, before Kershaw's contract comes off the books, maybe then that's the money they use to sign Bellinger. Because what do you think about this too? Kershaw says he doesn't even know if he's going to play beyond this year.
Yeah, that's surprising, but it's surprising, but it isn't at the same time, if that makes sense, because he got his ring last year, and I think all the demons were exercised. Oh, playoff Kershaw, he's going to choke. And I was in the same boat. I'm like, he's playing my Rays. So I'm like, all right, come on, please choke at some point. And he didn't. He literally went and showed everyone, hey, I finally did it at the biggest stage. 2 great outings by him. And I think he's content with where he's at. He's been in the league long enough where, hey, I've dealt with my, scrutiny, and I've been criticized my whole career. And I finally got I can ride off in the sunset. And if they win it again this year, I really do think he will retire a Dodger and just go off and be like, I won 2 rings my last couple of years, and let's move on. But I still think he's got 4 years left of him in the tank.
That's the interesting thing.
And, baseball is one of those sports where you just can't retire and step away from the game and all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to come back. It's not like football or hockey where you can take a step away for a year and just, all right, I'm going to be back into, Cy Young form. Baseball is one of those things where you got to keep working year round or you're going to lose it. So if I was him, I would take that decision, with a lot of thought, because you can't, like I said, you can't do that and just expect to come back and be the guy.
Yeah, like I feel like he'll be one of those guys who retires and then is like, I might come back. Give everything you have. I mean, maybe he feels like he got his contract, he got his ring. I don't know. I mean, it's very interesting. I think if they win a ring this year, definitely more so justifies it, because it's like, what else can I even do? I just went back to back. The Dodgers can't pay me anymore because they got to pay other people. So it might just be he doesn't want to play for anyone else. He got his rings, he got his money.
Yeah, exactly. And, some guys know when it's time to call it quits. And we've seen a lot of guys in the major leagues. Like, I think the first thing that comes to mind is Tim Lincecum, a guy that really,
just deep cut.
He really tried to prolong his career as long as he could. And then we saw the worst of him, and we're like, why is he still playing? So I have more respect for guys that, know when to call it quits, and I'm going to go right off, and you're going to have a good image of myself and all the good memories, the bad, but I'm going to go out, like a champion, and I know when my time's up. But then you got guys that they just don't want to quit, and they're going to keep going and grinding until they tell you can't play anymore. But I think he knows his limit and when it's time to call it quits. If he has a great year this year and they go out, hey, then I gave it all I had, and I'm just done. I want to focus on my family life, and I've played baseball long enough. So these guys, it's hard to look at it from an outside perspective, because these guys have been, it's a grind year round, and you're getting paid a heck of a lot of money to do it, but it's after a while it gets tiring and it's not fun anymore.
Yeah, and I'm looking up his age right now just to factor that into the conversation. So I'm going on his thing right now. He is 30. Yeah, he's only 32, and he turns 33 in March. So that's a really early retirement too. So I don't know. Maybe it's maybe he's just teasing everyone maybe to get more money. It's leverage, like, oh, you got to pay me extra for me to come back. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely interesting. So let's move on to the Minnesota Twins. Nelson Cruz is back. We talked about that last pod. They needed him back. Their lineup, it's pretty good, but Mitch Garver, Miguel Sano, guys who had great 2019s, didn't have great 2020s. You need Nelson Cruz in there. And over the last 8, 9, 10 years, and I believe during the 2010s, he led the big leagues in home runs. Last 8 years, if you just took that 8, that's Hall of Fame caliber. I don't think he is necessarily a Hall of Famer because there's a lot of guys with similar stat lines to his, like the Fred McGriffs and guys like that never did get in, and they had similar runs where they were really good but didn't put together, 12, 13 years. It was just like 7 or 8. But this guy, 35, 40 home runs every year. His average is high. His on base is high. This dude gives you the full thing. Now, defense, he doesn't need to give it to you. He's a DH. That's not a problem for the Twins. They got Kirilloff replacing Eddie Rosario, their prospect. They got Max Kepler out there who hits bombs. This is something they needed to do. And then the bullpen, they signed Alex Colomé. He's coming from the White Sox. You could argue and make a case that Colomé is still a top 15, top 12 reliever in baseball. So the Twins added Hansel Robles as well to that bullpen. So you almost have 3 closer type guys in the back end after losing Tyler Clippard and a few other guys. And then they add Jay Happ to the rotation, which we talked about last time. Jake Odorizzi, still a free agent. We'll see what happens there. And then Matt Shoemaker also signed to the Twins as well. But, they were making tiny little moves. Anderson Simmons comes in as well. I like what they're doing. To me, they're still champs of the AL Central.
Yeah, no, I think they're still one of the horses in that division. Who's going to take them down? I'm going to go look at the teams that
it's the White Sox, I would say, is really it because the Indians are kind of no Lindor anymore.
Yeah, it's a 2-headed race here. It's between the White Sox and the Twins, and we've talked a lot about the Chicago team, that what they've done in the offseason, making trades, keeping that team together, and it's only getting stronger. So that's the only team that I see giving Minnesota a run for their money, because obviously Kansas City, we know all about them. Detroit, bad. And Cleveland, they had their window and they traded away all of their talent, their capital. So Minnesota, though, they made all the moves that I expected them to make. You bring back Nelson Cruz. You have Garlick that was claimed off the waivers from the Braves. So you're making small moves, but that may not seem like it will go a long way. But for this ball club, it will. You add some depth to the bullpen, which you needed. This team gives up a lot of runs. That's what I noticed last year. They can score. You can score 8, 9 runs a game, but come crunch time, can you keep the other team off the scoreboard? And we saw that a couple of years ago when they played the Yankees. They just couldn't stop that Yankee offense, and that's what ultimately booted them from the playoffs. So I think for this team, it's the next step is getting Jake Odorizzi back, getting that starting lineup or rotation, intact, and I think they'll be ready to go because that offense is high potent. You got Simmons as well, so that's another guy who I really like, and it clears up that side, the left side of the infield with Donaldson at third base. So I really like this Minnesota ball club, and I expect them to be wild card at worst, but right now that would be my pick to win the division.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point with their pitching. They give up a lot of run. They don't have a true ace. Kenta Maeda, he had a great year last year. He's never done that before. That might just be a short season type of thing where he's playing the Royals and the Tigers a bunch of times and his stats get pumped. Indians too even didn't have a great lineup. You're facing the Pirates. The Brewers had the worst offense in baseball. So Maeda might have had a really overblown year. And, they don't have an ace. Even if Odorizzi comes back, Barrios isn't that guy. Odorizzi isn't. They have Michael Pineda, Jay Happ. Those guys aren't aces, So that's going to be the interesting part for me, what they do. But, the lineup is still there. And I'm excited to see what I think it's either Kirilloff or Kirilloff, what he can do, because he's another like kind of Max Kepler type guy, left-handed bat, outfielder with power. So that's going to be interesting to see. Now let's get to your boys, the Rays. And you guys are such little pesky fucks because you keep making these little tiny ass moves that they're going to look amazing at the end of the year when you're sitting in that number 2 wild card spot and you're all happy because you got your $32 million payroll in the playoffs. So they signed Chris Archer, 1 year, $6 million. You're telling me he might be a bullpen guy? I mean, he might be with all the starting pitchers they have. They got Rich Hill, 41-year-old, in there on a contract. They got Colin McHugh coming in, and then they made a few trades as well, and I'm getting there on my list here. Yeah, they re-signed Oliver Drake to come into that bullpen, that submarine type look from the. Is he a lefty, Oliver Drake?
He's right-handed, but
He is righty.
He's got that movement where it's a right-handed pitcher, but the movement is of what a lefty has, which is kind of dynamic. I'm glad they brought him back. So I mean, it's a key add to the bullpen there.
Yeah, and you guys also acquire Chris Mazza from Boston. He's not that great. He was kind of like a BS starter for Boston when they had that Orioles starting pitching rotation last year. So what do you think of your moves? I mean, Archer's back, Rich Hill, McHugh.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing that catches, I think, any opposing team's eye. But as a fan, from a fan's perspective, that's watched, Rob Schneider develop pitchers. He's been a great coach on that pitching staff, just developing young guys like Glasnow and Yarbrough. He takes guys that really no one else, wants to take a second chance on, and he develops them into, hey, you're going to fit into our system. We're going to use you for 2-3 innings, and we're going to build your strengths up, and you're going to work your way around our system. And I think that's what the Rays do really well year in, year out. It's building guys up that no one really trusts, but we're going to fit you into our ball club, and you're going to perform to your best of your ability. But the moves it satisfies your need going into the season, to put it that way. You lost two really big pieces in Morton and Snell. Can these guys fill those shoes? Absolutely not. But can they perform to where you can win some ball games? Yeah, hopefully. And the ceiling for this team, I think, this year is getting back to the playoffs, is hopefully somehow getting into that wild card game and getting in there. This team ain't winning the division. Yankees and Blue Jays are the top tier of this division. They're going to be top heavy, slugging it out. Can those teams stay healthy and ride it out? Yeah, I think they will. But the Rays got to piece it together. They still have the same offense coming back. But I like the moves they made. It satisfies your need going in. And they got rid of my boy John Curtis, who I hated. So that's a good move. And the Marlins fans are like, oh, thanks for the another prospect you all can't afford. Like, no, we could afford him. He just sucks.
Yeah, no.
I remember the ALDS game 1. We're down 1 run, 4-3 to the Yankees, and 9-3 grand slam from Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, that's where those guys, you start 2020, you're like, who the fuck is John Curtis? And then you understand why you didn't know his name come October. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what happened with John Curtis. So, I mean, dude, the Rays, they still have Colin Poche, coming back from injury. You got freaking Oliver Drake and all these dudes in the bullpen. I mean, they have too many starters for 5. I mean, Snell and Morton are gone, but you've got Yarborough and Yanni Chirino's coming back at some point. Yeah, and Rich Hill and now McHugh and Archer, and that's 5 names right there. And that's
Brendan McKay.
Yeah, and then Jalen Beeks and Honeywell and Shane Boz. They got pitcher. It's so many pitchers. It's annoying. But some of those guys are going to click. Luis Patino. So I'm going to be I feel like they're going to get production from 2 or 3 guys that make up for the 2 that they lost. Maybe not. We'll see. That's how the Rays are looking. So the Cubs also making some minor moves. They're adding Pedro Strop. He's coming back after leaving the Cubs for a year. Brandon Workman, former Red Sox and Phillies reliever, going to the Cubs. So we talked about the Cubs bullpen a million times before last year. It sucks. And now you're adding 2 guys that had down years. If they can go back to 2019 form, that's really good. Also, since the last time we did this, they added Jock Peterson. So Jock Peterson replacing that Schwarber presence in left field. They also had Trevor Williams. Not that great as a starting pitcher for the Pirates. Just a guy that's going to fill in, eat up some innings. And then I'm making sure that I didn't miss anyone. They signed Jake Marisnick, just outfield depth. He's not going to start or anything. He's just a good defender. Jake Arrieta coming back to the Chicago Cubs, making a return. I forget what the contract is, but that's great to see. Weak rotation. You needed another arm in there. So now it's Davies, Hendricks, Arrieta. Not too bad. And then I know there's something else possibly that I'm missing. and remind me if I did, but pretty decent. The pitching staff went from bad to like meh.
So, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then lineup, if Rizzo and Baez come back, they could make the playoffs still.
Yeah, no, I'm not counting this Cubs team out for anything. They're always going to be competitive. They'll be right in the mix. I think getting Arrieta back, he's 1 year, I believe, 1 year, $6 million.
Yeah, that's a bargain.
Yeah, 1 year, $6 million. So to get a power guy back, had a few down years, not down years, but just very average. In 2019, 8-8, 2020, 4-4, and in 2018 he was 10-11. So he's been a 500 pitcher the last few years. Maybe coming back to Chicago gives him new life. I always see new scenery, going back to where you've been familiar with, 2016 World Series. So I like what they added there, and they added some, like you said, Strope in the bullpen. So that bullpen was mediocre last year, if you want to put it that way. I really didn't. The back end of games, they would be up 3-4-1, and all of a sudden you look up and it's tied, and they lose in the 12th inning, and you're like, well, we let that game slip away. Even when they played the Marlins, they couldn't seem to close the door on a team that they were on paper way better than, but the Marlins just outwilled them. And so I think this Chicago team has enough power on offense to get it done. Now, can your pitching put enough together to get you back to where you want to be in the postseason and win a series? So I'm not going to count them out. We'll see how they mold. Like I said, 1 month into the season, you're going to find out truly who's going to be who's going to be who, what each team weaknesses is. So I like where Chicago sits right now, and optimistic for them.
Yeah, 100%. And now the last team I want to go over before we go over minor moves, the Oakland Athletics. They've done a lot of shifting around. This is what they always do. So last night actually this morning, I think, they signed Trevor Rosenthal to a deal for relievers. So they lose Liam Hendricks. They lose Joakim Soria, two really amazing relievers, especially Hendricks, best in baseball. So they add in Trevor Rosenthal. They keep Yusmeiro Petit, who mid-30s, he's still a great reliever, still dealing. And they add in Sergio Romo coming over from the Twins. So we talked about the Twins earlier. The Twins also lost Sergio Romo. But, that's bullpen kind of still intact for Oakland. They re-signed Mike Fiers, and then they trade away Chris Davis, who's had pretty god-awful years the last 2 years. They get in Elvis Andrus to replace Marcus Semien at shortstop. So Andrus can't really hit, but he'll provide some defense, get some base hits every once in a while. So the lineup taking a bit of a hit without Semien, but this is still a team. They're going to put good games together. They're statistically, sabermetrically, whatever you want to call it, that's how they're assembled. You still got Chapman, you still got Olsen, Laureano, so Chad Pinder, still a decent team.
Yeah, no, they're I compare them every year to the Tampa Bay Rays. They're a team that, uses sabermetrics. We're gonna find a way to get the best deals, the most out of each of one of our players that's sitting behind our starters. Like you said, you still got Olsen, you still have Chapman, you got a lot of high power there. I think losing Semien hurts the depth of that lineup a little bit, but they're a team every year that's just finds a way to win ball games. They're gritty. They'll grind you out. They can beat you 8-1, but they're very well content playing a 3-2 ball game and beating you late in the 9th or in the 10th, taking you to extras. So I like this team the way they're shaping up this year. They're in a division where it's not really top heavy. You have the Astros, who are kind of Verlander is still dealing with his arm issues. He might not be back until mid to late year. They lose Springer. So the division's wide open, in my opinion, in this West. You have the Angels, who have their issues year in, year out. Seattle.
Fuck the Angels. Yeah.
Yeah. And Seattle is Seattle. So, it's very well up for grabs. And if they could somehow win this division, they'd be sitting pretty, because then they'll get themselves into a 5-game series no matter what. I've always say it's huge to win your division. In baseball, you get yourself out of that crappy, shitty 1 game in your season's over type deal, which is they've been in every single year, it seems like. So I like where the A's are sitting.
Yeah, no, me too. And like you said, I mean, they're lucky because they're in this division. There's some leeway there. They're going to reduce. They're not as good as they were last year, but they make the replacements all the time, just like the Rays do. You pick and choose where you want to add, where you want to be strength at, and that's what the A's do best. So let's go to some of these minor moves since we've been absent from the pod. Oh, shit. We should have led with this. The Nolan Arenado trade to St. Louis.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Nolan Arenado, he's a good player. First of all, he had a terrible 2020, like really bad, well below league average, couldn't hit. A lot of people think it's literally because he did not want to be in Colorado. He hated the ownership. He was pissed off the whole year. He didn't want to be there. The Rockies said, like in mid-September, his season's over. Let's just act like 2020 didn't happen and that Arenado's still a top 3 third baseman. The thing is, though, St. Louis, their lineup, it kind of sucks. They don't have anybody in there that you look at other than Goldschmidt that you're like, oh, they're good. Yachty can't hit. Paul DeJong is decent. Tommy Edman is decent. Harrison Bader is decent. Colton Wong is gone, and he was below league average. Who else in this lineup other than Goldie and Arenado sparks your interest? Nobody.
Yeah, no, the St. Louis lineup is very weak, and I've seen it the last few years, and I've been saying they need a guy, they need pieces to get them to where they want to be. They don't have a lot. I mean, you look at the contenders that are in and make deep runs every year. You're 1 through 7 deep, 8, 9 can get the job done. Every 3 out of 10 times, 2 out of 10 times. So you're batting 200, 300 guys. The Cardinals, you look at 1 through 4, solid enough, right? But after that, you're piecing together a lineup that really can't produce a ton of runs. They're scoring 2-3 runs a game, and they're relying so heavily on their pitching to get the job done. In a course of a season, that can only take you so far. You got to rely on games where you can score 9 runs and you win 9-2, and it's an easy game where you throw in a guy who's young and, hey, you're going to eat 4 innings up to end this game, and we're going to save our bullpen. Seems like night in, night out, the Cardinals are using their bullpen. They're taxing it so early. So when it comes to the postseason, we saw it last year against the Padres. They used it up. They scored a ton of runs, but they had no pitching to hold that offense down. They get eliminated. See you next year. So I think for St. Louis, you got to bolster that offense, or you're not going to get yourself to where you want to be come October.
Yeah, and the offseason's over. So it's like, what the hell are they going to do? It's like, this is their team. Their rotation couldn't get it done. They didn't add any pitchers. And they have more money than they're saying they have. I get it. They couldn't pay Pujols a decade ago. They don't pay anyone. I mean, they're not even paying a lot of Arenado's contract. Goldschmidt is relatively cheap. They're not paying anybody else. So St. Louis, I don't know where they went. Ever since La Russa left and Pujols left, it's been, let's act like we're going to try and win, get an occasional division, occasional wild card, and we're going to be complacent with what we have. This Arenado move is just like, hey, we're still trying, fans, we're still trying. But if you're really a true fan, their lineup's not good enough. It's just not there. But for the Rockies, dude, why do they even? They're similar too. I watched a video. I don't know if you watch Urinating Tree on YouTube. It's actually really funny. He does videos basically like shitting on teams and stuff. He did one on the Rockies, and it's like they're a perfect example of this too. They get rosters with lineups that have a lot of big names just to sell tickets. They act like they try to win, and then they sell everyone off. I mean, now they're going to trade Story. And other than that, Blackman's like 35 years old now. They always have terrible pitching. It's like, why do the Rockies even exist?
Yeah, no, that's a franchise where it seems like, hey, there's a direction here. We have all these superstars. You had Arenado, you had Blackman. I mean, all these guys, you're like, wow, we have a sense of we want to win and a sense of urgency. And then it's like, nope, we're going to trade you away for a few prospects, and we're going to build up the team in the future. Tampa does the same. I say this every year to people. They do the same thing. Hey,
at least Tampa's successful at doing it.
And they've been doing it for so long where they know how to do it and they can get away with it. But as a fan, you want to keep these. Snell was going to be there. They had him locked down $5 million for 5 years, and he was 2 years in the deal. See you later. So there's no consistency. There's no franchise players. Colorado, same way. When was the last? Arenado was their franchise player, and now he's gone. So
now it's just Trevor Story, and there's no way he's going to stay.
And I'm sure he's telling his agent, "Hey, I want out. If Arenado's out, I'm gone." And that team's going to be in the cellar. The bottom teams of the major leagues, you look at the Baltimore Orioles, the Seattle Mariners, you have Colorado, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's gotten fleeced up the ass for the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, they have no direction. They've had superstars come and go. The Rays got Glasnow Meadows, and now the guy they traded him to them is now back with them. So they just got highway robbed, and the bottom teams keep getting worse, and the rich keep getting richer. So the disparity in baseball now is getting so skewed because you have teams like Colorado that act like they want to win, but at the end of the day, you're trading away your superstar and your potent power for nothing.
Yeah, no, baseball is totally becoming really top heavy. I mean, you look right now, it's Dodgers, Padres, they spend money. NL Central, kind of sucks. NL East, Braves or Mets because they spend money, maybe Phillies, but probably not. And then AL, it's Yankees, Twins because they just spent money to get free agents, and Cruz and Donaldson and all that. White Sox because they're spending money. And then the AL West is kind of sucks because the Astros couldn't spend money and keep up and get Springer back and sign Cole. And then lo and behold, what's the emerging team in the AL? Toronto. Why? Because they had to open the bank and pay $150 for Springer. So it's really the only way. You have to have, if you're a mid-tier team budget-wise, you've got to have the player development skills like the Blue Jays do, with the Biggios, the Bichettes, the Vlads, and then you get your piece. But that's what those bottom tier teams, they don't do. They don't do the player development, and then they don't spend money at all. And so it's the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, and you're getting a really bad product as a result of inaction. And you look at, I keep bringing the Rays up, and it sounds like I'm just pestering the whole, but it's the perfect example of what you either have to do. You either have to develop prospects, and that's what you're going to use, and you're going to use your player control for 8 years and develop these guys. Hey, this is what we have. Or you open up the wallet like Toronto, the Padres did it, and hey, let's start spending big bucks, and we're going to buy ourselves to wins. And that's how you have to do it. And if you don't do it either way, you're going to end up like the Orioles and like the Pirates. You're going to end up with 50 wins a year, and your fan base is going to get exhausted. And no one's going to want to watch a really bad product in the field. I'd rather watch a team that at least tries, and you're 500 every year, but that there's potential, and eventually you're going to get to the top of the mountain, then pretend and mask that you're going to try to get there, and you're never going to get there, and you're going to be bottom of the cellar for 10 years. So it's frustrating to watch these teams that aren't going to go anywhere for a long time just because of the inaction of ownership, management, whatever you want to point the finger in the direction of.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. And there's not going to be anything that fixes it other than what baseball should do. And we've both been proponents of this, have a salary floor. Just say you have to spend this amount of money. Because I'm telling you, I think it's the Rockies owner. He's got a shit ton of money. Like he's the owner of a big business. He just doesn't want to do it. And it's like, why are you owning a team then? They shouldn't even allow it. At least say you have to spend $50 million bare minimum, $60 million bare minimum. And that's what you got to do. Because I don't want to think about it anymore. It's pissing me off.
I think it's got to be higher than that.
Yeah,
I think
like
it's
80.
I think 80, because you look at teams like Tampa, Oakland, 75, 80 is like the kind of where they're sitting now. So I think you might even have to raise that to almost 85, 100 mil range there, because make these teams spend, make these teams be competitive, keep these franchise players. That's what sells tickets. That's what sells hot dogs in the stands and gets people in there every night. So yeah, it's frustrating to talk about. And that's my last, that's my little rant about that.
Yes. So now we got the minor moves too. We got Eddie Rosario heading to the Indians, down year last year. Indians have like 7 lefties in their lineup, so I don't know how that's going to work out. But hey, good for Eddie. Didi back with the Phillies, quick 1-year deal. So they keep Real Muto, they keep Didi. I like it. I mean, their lineup's pretty good. I mean, you got Alec Boehm, the prospect, absolute stud. Hoskins with a great year last year. To me, the only positions that they don't have that are great at offense are center field and second base, and that's really only from a power perspective, because Segura and then their center fielder Hazley hit for average just with no power. So you could argue all 8, and it sucks that we got to say 8 because there's no DH in the NL this year. All 8 of those guys in the lineup can hit. And, the Phillies could be a fringe wild card team keeping those guys.
Yeah, no, the Phillies they could be right there. They're always right around 500 come September. I think they need to make a couple moves to get that lineup a little bit more run production, but I like where they sit. You still have Harper. You have guys that Didi that can do the job. It's pitching too. It comes full circle. I say it too. Pitching wins you championships, and I think they need that one. Arrieta leaves. Now you got to find someone to fill that hole. So I think the Phillies are a fringe wild card team. They could be there once again come September, battling for that second wild card, but we'll find out. Like I said, who's going to be who in the first couple of months of the season. I'm really excited for spring training to get started so we can see what each team's 40 man is going to look like and what the actual roster is going to shape up to be. Because we can do all this speculation. We can see how who's going to be what. And now they're dealing with Real Muto. He, broken thumb or fractured thumb. So injuries can happen, and we just got to wait and see once games start to be played where they see guys fit in real time. So
yeah, you bring up the pitcher problem. I mean, they boosted up the bullpen. They got Jose Alvarado, they got Archie Bradley. They got guys to spice up that bullpen, but it's like outside of Nola and Wheeler, everything else is a question mark in that rotation. Eflin's decent. They have a prospect, Spencer Howard, 24 years old, but that's an if. And then you've got Vince Velasquez. He's up and down. Chase Anderson up and down. So I don't know what they're thinking. It's like they have money too. I get it. They paid Harper, but at one point we were hearing they were going to pay Harper and Machado. So maybe the Real Muto contract is too much. I don't know. The Zach Wheeler contract, which he's totally overrated. I don't get why they signed him, but we'll see what they do. So Alex Cobb traded the Angels. Wow, Angels, that's what you're going to do to spice up your rotation. A washed up guy, Alex Cobb. Nice job. Colton Wong going to the Brewers. Okay, don't really care. Felix Hernandez going to the Baltimore Orioles. At this point, dude, why not just retire? Him and Matt Harvey going to the Orioles. Why not just hang it up?
Yeah, no, it's like this Angels team. You go and get, let's say, Alex Cobb, correct?
Yeah.
I heard that correct? Alex Cobb?
Yeah.
Alex fucking Cobb. And that's the solution to your team's, pitching woes. Then we have issues. I mean, he was after Tampa. He wasn't. I mean, a couple average years in Baltimore, but nothing special. And we see Matt Harvey. He's with them as well.
Well, no, Matt Harvey and Felix Hernandez were the Orioles.
Orioles, but yeah, I mean, I guess not. I try to string some one more year left out of those guys, but I mean, Felix tipped the cap. I mean, a great career. I think he's kind of milking out every last bit of his career he has left. And Matt Harvey, I think he had 2 great years in New York, and then just kind of disappeared. So I guess with a team that's that bad in Baltimore, you could get you're going to take anything you can get and try
when your number one starter is John Means, that tells you everything you need to know.
Exactly. So I guess you need all the help you can get, and if they're willing to come to you, then just take them. So
yep. So also Dexter Fowler getting traded to the Angels. He had a terrible year last year. I don't know why they even got him. Joakim Soria going to the Diamondbacks. He'll be able to close games there. Good for him. Dude, one of the most consistent relievers. He's bounced all over the place. He's been great. I feel like the Diamondbacks, they're just going to use him as trade bait halfway through the year. Soria can say, hey, I can close games with the Diamondbacks. They're not going anywhere. D-backs will get some return for him mid-season.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think, it's to bolster your roster. And I mean, all these little moves these teams are doing, it's really just a safety blanket for a lot of their starters. I really think some of these guys you might not see midseason. They might get moved. So, I mean, I really, all these small moves, I don't really take with much. I don't take much to them. All the big moves you make, they're going to make the 40 man. All these guys are going to make the 40 man as well, but it's where do they see them, fit in that starting roster come, midseason. It's a midseason injury blanket kind of thing. So great signings and the teams just need him for safety.
Well, here's a big move. We got Marcell Ozuna, 4 years, 65, staying with the Braves. Huge for them. I mean, this makes them, to me, still the favorite in the NL East.
Yeah, no, that signing was huge. I I really like what they did there. There was rumors with him with 5 teams. Teams came out of the woodworks. They're like, oh, the Rays are in contention. Oh, this team's pitching for Ozuna. But to get that bat back, they lost Duvall to Miami, correct?
Yes.
Right. Duvall went to Miami. So keeping Ozuna, that's huge. He's been a big bat for them. He hits for power, gets on base, he works counts. So that really does keep them in the thick of things in this division and in that NL side as well. Everyone forgets they were 1 game away from the World Series and kind of collapsed there. They were up 3-1 that series, and in a blink of an eye, it just all fell apart on them. So I think they have a good team coming back. Soroka is hopefully going to be healthy at some point coming this season, and Morton added to their lineup or their rotation, and this team could be dangerous once again.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Andrew Benintendi traded to the Kansas City Royals away from Boston. The Red Sox, man, the killer bees. You have Benintendi, Bradley, and Betts. They're all gone. And for the Royals, I don't even know if I understand it for either team. Boston's getting Josh Winchowski, who I think they traded somewhere else. But, young pitcher, pretty decent minor league numbers. Franchi Cordero, he's not really that high of a guy. He's going to play left field, I guess, for them now. But for the Royals side, they have a pretty decent lineup now. Like Sal Perez had a good year. You have Hunter Dozier. You've got Soler. You've got Benintendi. That's 4 bats. Whit Merrifield. So they've got some good bats. And then the rotation, they added Mike Minor. They've got 4 other good starters. They're all young, like Chris Medlin. Not Medlin.
And they've got who's the guy from UF?
Who I'm forgetting. Brady Singer.
Yeah, he's young too.
He's a stud. Yeah, Chris Bubick. So they've got dudes.
Yeah, the Royals. It's a work in progress. Like I said, can you get enough guys to buy in and stick through the process? You got Benintendi, who's struggled the last couple of years, but he's still one of those guys where when he comes to the plate, you think, wow, when's he going to come through? And I had that feeling last year. When's he going to finally break through? And he was battling some injury issues. So you have Sal Perez, like you said, still performing at a high level. This Royals team, they're not going to be great by any stretch,
but they'll be a team where you can't just relax.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. They're a team where, hey, if you sit and wait around and you don't come out of the gate swinging, this team can punch you in the face quick. And same with the Tigers too. They're a team that you can't play around with. We saw it last year when teams would come in, sleepwalk. The Twins would do that a few times. Where they would come in, sleepwalk, and boom, you get beat 6-1, and you're like, wow, how did that happen? But this team was still enough talent, young. They're building. They're trying to find ways, and a lot of these young guys too. I say this in baseball is they're fighting for spots on the team. So you're going to get the best from these bad teams every night, and maybe will the results show up on the scoreboard? Maybe not, but they're going to give you their best shot and their best punches. So I would look out if you're playing this Kansas City team mid-season.
Yeah, and it's great for ticket sales too when you know every night they have a chance. And plus, the only thing I don't get, Benintendi only has 2 years left on his contract. He's not signing back there. So it's like, why? And maybe it's just, again, it's one of those moves where you're like, hey, fans, we're trying. It's just you're not giving up any big tools to get him. You're just getting a pretty decent player looking to improve his career, and that's what it's looking like. So I'll just list off these minor moves. Reynaldo Nunez, Jonathan Scope to the Tigers. So Scope stays. Reynaldo Nunez, pretty decent guy with the Orioles. David Phelps to the Blue Jays, decent bullpen piece. Marwin Gonzalez to the Red Sox, utility guy. So they have him and Kike, who can play a bunch of positions. Billy Hamilton to the Indians. Ken Giles is going to miss the entire year, but he signed with Seattle. Nomar Mazara also to the Tigers, extra bat. The A's also picked up Adam Kolarek from the Dodgers. So that's another reliever that they're getting. And they traded Sheldon Noisy, who everyone's saying he might be the next Max Muncy for the Dodgers in that trade. Asdrubal Cabrera to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Jay Bruce on a minor league deal to the Yankees, which surprised me. He might actually make the team as that final bench spot. Derek Dietrich also going to the New York Yankees. He could be a candidate for that final bench spot because Brett Gardner still hasn't signed, which is really weird. Some people are saying it might be, and this would be a total Gardy thing to do. He sits out, says, I don't want to play spring training. I struggle every April anyway. I'm going to come back in July and be the final bench guy and ride out with the team through the playoffs. I really would love if Gardy did that. And we could talk about the Yankees here for a quick second too. Darren O'Day added to the bullpen, and they add Justin Wilson. This is one of those moves where it's like I sit there and I'm like, Brian Cashman is a genius. You get this guy in, cheap deal, and, you lose Ottavino. You trade him away. You lose Tommy Kahnle. You trade away Jonathan Holder. You start looking at this bullpen. You're like, it doesn't have what it used to have. Well, now Darren O'Day, Justin Wilson, Chad Green, Zach Britton, Aroldis Chapman as your main five. That's a pretty damn good five. I mean, Justin Wilson from the left side still throwing 96. Darren O'Day had an ERA under 2 for the last 2 years at 38 years old. You have Luis Sessa and Jonathan Loaizaga, who I also think are going to make the bullpen guys. Those are your other 2 guys that are decent, quote unquote, and they had mid-3 ERAs. They were pretty good last year. And then the 8th guy is going to be what the Yankees always do. They call it the Scranton Shuttle, where they have like 8 guys. They send them up and down all year, and that's probably how it's going to work. So we went from bullpen kind of mediocre to bullpen back to where we think it should be. And then the rotation, you got Cole, Kluber, Tyone, Domingo Herman back off suspension, and Montgomery, with Davey probably going back to the minor leagues. Now you're looking at it, it's like the Yankees kind of have a deep pitching staff again.
And they always do. It seems like they have enough money, and they have the wiggle room to go and get guys. You get O'Day, got Wilson the other day. It's another depth piece, and the Yankees have a good enough pitching, a coaching staff where they can build these guys up and get them back on track. So, and you have Chapman. I'm thinking, who am I thinking of?
Zach Britton, Chad Green.
Britton, Chad Green, who I like. He's always a consistent guy you can lean on when you need some innings and you need a big out, or you're in a jam. So this Yankees pitching staff it's where it was last year. You didn't lose a whole lot. You got rid of Ottavino, so I think they're still primed to be the team to beat in this American League East and in the AL. I don't see really many teams, putting up a chance. Toronto Blue Jays, maybe. They're still young. But yeah, the Yankees are primed to be, in that 100-win range again. And then you got Devi Garcia, right? Still, he's young.
Yeah, they're saying they're probably going to send him down because of innings limit stuff, and they have Domingo coming back and all that.
That's true. For how you have Herman, who was dealing with his off the field issues, but if before his little hiatus from baseball there, and he was throwing the ball really well.
Yeah, he was good.
And it was fun to watch. He's got good stuff. He can throw the ball hard, and if you can get that guy back throwing the way he was, and
remember they've still got Sevy coming back mid-season at some point. And,
yeah,
I mean, who knows where he could be?
Yeah, Severino. I mean, everyone forgets about that guy too. This Yankees ball club they had the weapons and the tools to get it done. And it's just, can you do it when it matters, right? And we were talking about before the podcast is like, your window, and it's as a fan, you watch it year in and year out, and it's like, all right, it's a certain point where you got to get it done before you lose interest, and the fans just go, well, here we go again.
Yep,
another year of talking, but we can't get it done. So I think the Yankees are in a great position to make some noise again this year.
Yes, and also James Paxton leaving the Yankees, going back to Seattle. Worst possible year to have a shitty year. He would have made bank if it was the year before. Now he has to go back to Seattle, rework some things, get his velocity back. Kind of feel bad for Paxton. He could have made bank there. Forgot to mention Keone Kela to the San Diego Padres. He used to be the Pirates closer. And then Mitch Moreland signs with Oakland as well. He'll probably be their DH. I just want to say this name because it's fucking awesome. Hirokazu Sawamura, reliever, signing with the Red Sox from Japan. We'll see how that ends up working out. And then that might be it. Yeah, no, that might be it for moves that we haven't covered. So now let's get to some other stuff. Some tragic news out of baseball. Tim Tebow retired yesterday. Absolute legend with a .238 career on base in the minor leagues. Just a stud.
Yeah, that I saw it pop up. I saw the notification pop on my phone. I'm like, they're like, oh, Tim Tebow's retiring. I'm like, that's shocking news. Wow. Who would have thought, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I got to see him play once here in Tampa when he came. They played the Tampa Tarpons, and it was the St. Lucie Mets, and then it was the Tampa Tarpons. Pete Alonso and him were actually playing together.
Wow.
And in that game. So it's kind of cool to see Tim Tebow play. I mean, it was the Tebow mania thing was it picked up steam. It sold tickets, but yeah, I mean, hats off to the guy. He always said he wanted to go try baseball out, and he got to live it out for a couple of years, and now he's just hanging it up. He's great on TV. He had stick to football and
Yeah,
ESPN, SEC network stuff, but hats off to him for trying it, and he gave it a go. So
for sure. And we'll quick mention here, Blue Jays have to start the season in Dunedin. It's good for you and me. We both live in that area. I'm a half hour away from it. So if there's Yankees Blue Jays games, cheap tickets, I'm going.
yeah, no, it's outside. You'll get a little sense of what it feels like to be at a real ballpark, not be inside the trop all the time. So yeah, if it's like an extended spring training, but the games actually count. So yeah, if there's tickets for sale and people are willing to go, and they're allowing fans, then yeah, I'll be the first one to go and see some games in live action. And it's good for the Rays too. They get to go drive up the road. They're right over at Dunedin's, only a hop, skip, and a drive from St. Pete. So
Yeah.
a little bit of advantage there. But yeah, it'd be awesome to have two professional teams playing in basically the same city for the first couple months at least. So that's some exciting news.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. All right, you ready for top 10 second baseman?
Yeah, of course. Let's go.
All right, so I'll just list my 1 through 10. So Kevin Biggio, I know MLB Network put him on theirs. He's a third baseman now. They brought in Marcus Semien. He's going to play second base. So I included Semien on my list and Biggio as a candidate for my third base list. So at number 10, I have David Fletcher from the Los Angeles Angels. Not that great. He had 319, 376 on base, all that. He's just kind of a league average player, second base, not that deep of a position, just a contact hitter. Number 9, I have Jonathan Scope from the Tigers. Again, not that great of a player, just kind of league average. Hits home runs. He had 23 home runs in 120 games in 19. Just a guy that when you pitch to him, if you leave one out in the middle, he's going to hit it out of the ballpark. He's still a threat. Not the best defensively, but he's still a good player. Chris Taylor, show him respect. Number 8 at second base. This is a dude for a number of years. He switches positions, but he always hits. And this year, 364 WOBA, 131 weighted run created plus with 8 home runs. So he had a good year. Number 7, I have Mike Moustakas. This is a guy, listen, he has not had the best time defensively at second base going to Cincinnati, but offensively, he had a little bit of a dip. He's slightly above league average. He's not who he used to be for sure. So I have him at number 7. I have Tommy La Stella from the San Francisco Giants at number 6. This is a dude that nobody talks about. This is 2 straight years. Yes, limited time, but the dude rakes 350 WOBAs, 130 weighted run created pluses in both years with power. He had 16 home runs in 80 games in 19. So I like the guy. Number 5, despite his down year, I have Marcus Semien from the Toronto Blue Jays. I think in that lineup with the change of scenery, being surrounded by the guys that he's going to be surrounded by. I mean, listen, in 2019, he was an MVP candidate, hitting 24 home runs and 86 RBIs, 295 average. In 2019, he had 33 home runs, 92 RBIs, 373 WOBA. So he was amazing in 2019. It's just 2020, he was below league average. Number 4, I have Ozzie Albies. League average year this year, the year before, slightly above. I think his ceiling is the highest of out of some of the guys we're talking about, switch hitter. Number 3, I have Brandon Lau from the Tampa Bay Rays. This dude, he just rakes. He flat out rakes. 14 home runs, 37 RBIs, 385 WOBA. Just stellar for the Rays last year. Number 2, I have Jeff McNeil. I think this is self-explanatory. This dude, 300 hitter every year. He has power. He plays multiple positions this year, looking like he's going to play primarily second base. But the dude just rakes. I like him a lot. And, of course, DJ LeMahieu of the New York Yankees at number 1. I mean, what else is there to say? The guy hit 364 in 2020. He hit, I think, 330 in 2019, 420 on base, 429 WOBA, 177 weighted run created plus in 2020. Just a machine. They call him the machine up in the Bronx. So I got LeMahieu at number 1. What's your list?
Yeah. So you said Simeon's playing second, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, because I was like, I had an asterisk there because I don't know if they were moving him over or whatnot. So I'll go 1 through 10, just because it's fresh out here. So I'll start from 1. Pick it right up where you left off. DJ LeMahieu. What else can you say about the guy? I mean, 2020 stats at the age of 32, played 50 games, 216 plate appearances, 10 homers, batted 364, 421 on base. I mean, the guy plays great defensively. He works counts. He's a pain in the ass to get out. He's one of my favorite guys to watch the plate, even though he plays for the Yankees. I tell people, I'm like, all my Rays fans are like, hey, like, why do you love this guy so much? I'm like, do you watch him at the plate? This guy you can't throw a pitch by him without, I mean, it's so hard to get the guy out. And it seems like he just finds a way to put the ball, go opposite field. He's pulling down the line. He does it all. So, that's why he's number 1 for me. Number 2, I got Brandon Lau. I think the last couple of years he's been doing everything he needs to do. He's been injured, up and down, battled a broken, I think it was like a fractured shin, fractured foot, which kept him out a couple of years ago, which he could have been AL Rookie of the Year very easily. He had 14 homers last year, batted 269, struggled mightily in the World Series, but hopefully he bounces back this year and comes out strong. Number 3, I have Ozzie Albies. Once again, one of those guys in that Atlanta roster that he rakes, he gets on base, he's quick. Not the numbers that you want to see, 6 homers, 29 games last year in 2020, but he's one of those guys that, really you can get it done in that lineup. And then Marcus Semien at number 5.
Where do you have McNeil?
McNeil's number, hold on, that's number 3. I did 1 LeMahieu, 2 Brandon Lau, Ozzie Albies 3. McNeil's number 4 for me, and then Simeon's number 5.
Wow.
So McNeil's right here. So I have it mixed up because I had the asterisk with Simeon, so I had to throw him in there.
Okay.
McNeil, 52 games, 4 homers, batted 311. So he's a guy on the rise. 28 years old. He's going to be solid. Got to watch him play last year in spring training when he came over to the east coast of Florida, and he played against the Astros. Solid guy, plays good defense. So he's my number 4. Number 5, I got Simeon. You pretty much covered all the bases for me there. Number 6, Kensel Marte, a solid, decent enough second baseman. He plays solid defense. Numbers kind of dropped off last year a little bit, but I think he's solid enough to get the job done with the Diamondbacks. So I would like to see him steal a little bit more run production, get on base a little bit more, and I think he'll be just fine. He's young enough, 27 years old, still a lot of upside for him. Number 6, right?
Yeah.
Got this list mixed up. So number 7, Jake Cronenworth from San Diego, another young guy, came from the Rays organization. 54 games last year, 200 plate appearances, 4 homers, 3 stolen bases, 285. The ceiling for this guy is, in this lineup with Tatis, Pham. I think you'll find his home somewhere in that lineup and really kind of mold there. Next, I got Chris Taylor. Once again, champion, can hit for power, gets on base, smooth swing, gets on base is 366 OBP, 270 average. Does everything you want that you need as a second baseman. This is in this league right now. It seems like second base is very underwhelming. Not a whole lot. They just kind of get the job done. It's a very defensive position. You've seen him make plays on that right side of the field. Then next I've got Jose Altuve. He's been a good talent in the major leagues. Doesn't have the build, but he's still.
I'll see you later. I'll see you later.
I gotta give him some respect. I mean, hey, last year he freaking still, with the cheating allegations, everything, the guy still finds it for power. He's 5'5". He still hits the ball 400 feet. So the guy still gets on base. He walks. He's hard to get out. But yeah, that's my guy. And then there's the trash can. And then last, I got number 10 with you. David Fletcher, 26 years old, still finding his way in the league. Batted .319 last year, 425 slug, 376 OBP. I think he's just he's an average second baseman, and gave him the benefit of the doubt and put him there in my number 10 spot.
Okay, so I do have disagreements this time. Usually we're pretty like on the same path. Jeff McNeil's a good fucking player. Like he is his 2019, him and Pete Alonso had the exact same advanced stats.
Really?
Like you would never think that, but Pete Alonso's pretty damn good because the year before, 23 home runs, 75 RBIs, 384 WOBA, 143 weighted run rate plus, 318 average, and he had 38 doubles. So like this dude can absolutely rake, and just no one thinks about him because he's mostly like a contact guy. I think he's almost LeMahieu. Like if LeMahieu weren't a second baseman, I would have McNeil number 1, to be honest, because he's been doing this for 3-4 years now. I think Lau, he's a great player, but 2019, it was 82 games, then 50 this year. It's like, let's see it for 162 and see that, he's never been a 300 hitter. And then for Ketel Marte, I wrestled with that. The thing with me for him, 2019, it's 33 home runs, 330 out, all that. Every other year before that, he hits like 1 or 2 home runs a year. It's like, was he taking steroids or something in 2019? Like, who is this guy,
Yeah, for sure. No, it's like the second base position, it's very up and down. Like we looked at, like you said, Brandon Lau, he plays a full enough slate of games, and he plays 82 games, and Marte, it's up and down. So there's really no consistency here besides, I think, the number 1 guy in the list, DJ LeMahieu. He's played. That's why he's unanimously number 1. And there's from 1 to 2, there's about a giant gap from where the next guy is on that list because he's played the full slate of games. He's consistent. He gets on base. The average is there. He hits for power, and he gets a lot of RBIs. Run production is high. So, second base is I would like to see that position, take a step up in the next few years, but there's just not many prospects and guys that are taking that next leap. But Jeff McNeil is the next guy. I get him and Lau are the 2 guys chasing LeMahieu and that star-studded, his star-studded potential.
Yeah, and I'll just address the Altuve thing so I just don't look biased and everything like that, which I'm biased for sure. But, Altuve, this dude, 286 on base, 219 average, 5 homers, 18.
All right.
Like, get the fuck out of here. This is the year after everyone says you've been looking at what the pitch is going to be before it like, now I'm starting to think, is he really just a 5'6" midget who can't hit?
What I've watched, that guy can fucking hit. When he plays the Rays, I'm like, they can't get this motherfucker out. I don't know. When he was on it, the years they won the World Series, yes, they cheating and everything, but I don't know. I still give him the benefit of the doubt with the numbers and everything, but I don't know. I had to throw him in there at 8. He's still. I'm not leaving him on my top 10.
I can't do it. I really I would vomit if I put him on my list. But hey, listen, if he comes back, he's the same guy. He's back on my list. I'm not going to just keep him off because he's an Astro or anything like that. So, yeah, no, second base, definitely the most boring position I think we're going to do because it's just like, would you ever think David Fletcher is a top 10 anything? Like he's just not – he's not that great of a player. He's just at second base he is. So, yeah, we'll see. I think, though, Semien could be a guy where he could really spark up. But then again, next year he might be considered a shortstop again if he goes somewhere else because he's only on a 1-year deal. But, yeah, that's that. So we did a long pod today. We had a ton of shit to cover. We're actually going to be coming out with 2 podcasts today. We have the FAU baseball season preview coming up with an interview with FAU outfielder, probably the best hitter on the team, and closer. So he does all 3 things. We're going to interview him, do an FAU season preview as well. So that'll be a separate pod. So we organized the YouTube channel. You guys can go on the playlist on Strictly Sports Productions. The link is in the description below. We have playlists for each pod. It's super easy to find everything. I put all those 2020 team previews on there to see if we're idiots or not. You can go and look at those. Those are all on the YouTube channel. And then we have 5 podcasts up on there. Follow us on Twitter at Strictly Sports P, on Facebook and Instagram at Strictly Sports Productions. Look for that FAU baseball season preview and the Hardigan interview. And for Steve Cash and I am Jacob Brown. We will see you next time.